Okay. Hi guys, I'm back again, even though you're going to be seeing these probably in replays. But that's all good. We've got Rachel here now. Thank you, Rachel, for coming on and for giving me some of your time. I'm very appreciative. Um, we're just going to jump right in. If you could just tell us all a little bit about who you are and what you do, and then your journey.
Yes, I'm so pleased to join you today, Emily. I really appreciate your time too and the space that you give all of us. I've really enjoyed being in the group, even though you said it just started. It seems like this content probably has been simmering a while, and you can tell it's really useful information. I've really valued that, so I appreciate being here. I am Rachel. I am a mother of three, a 5-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 2-year-old. So a little bit chaotic in my house. And I'm a trained speech language pathologist. So all growing up, I really wanted to help people, really worked in my community a lot. It was a value my parents lived out. And so I wanted to do that in my profession. With having kids, my husband and I decided that I would be the one that would be the primary caregiver and adjust my working schedule to accommodate child rearing. So we did that, and speech language pathology is so great with that. There's a lot of women in that profession, and so coming in and out of the workplace, adjusting your hours, going more of a contract position is really easy. So I was fortunate to have that flexibility and be able to do that. My journey through that was a little bit specific. I actually joined a startup company here in North Carolina, specializing in swallowing disorders, and really got the startup bug. So when my husband and I moved to Chicago, I joined a different type of startup for families, and realized that was more of my soul's journey. So we moved back to North Carolina, and I had my third child, and was on maternity leave, and just really started coming up with all of these creative possibilities. There's a huge difference from living in the city of Chicago versus suburbs of Charlotte, North Carolina. My young kids were curious about cultures and differences and just city life. And I didn't want that curiosity to vanish once we were in the suburbs. So I created Crafting Good. I'm the founder and owner of Crafting Good. It primarily started as a subscription box company for families to learn more about their community, find ways to help, learn more about race, and focus on racial justice, get those conversations started young, and have fun using your creativity, bonding together. So that's how it started, and it's we've been around about a year and a half, and have more products offerings. So the subscription box is not the main event anymore. People really got back to us and thought the speaking and workshop engagements were pretty valuable, and the single activity kits that they can kind of focus on and use in their different groups, Sunday school groups, book clubs, that sort of thing. So as startups are, we're kind of shifting with the feedback from our customers, but it's been really, really exciting. And I've really found my purpose and kind of light through that, which has been really, really a blessing the past year or two.
It sounds amazing. Could you just explain very briefly what speech pathology is? Speech pathology.
Yeah, speech language pathology helps with actually, they need a marketing rebranding. There's a lot of things that go into speech pathology. One is rehabbing swallowing. Another is rehabbing communication. And if that's like speech related versus language related, it's a helping profession in the rehab profession. So after someone has a stroke or a brain injury or cancer involving any of those places, they might have communication or swallowing problems. And so a speech language pathologist comes in and helps them relearn all those skills.
Amazing. I also, in our previous communication, you explained to me a little bit about parenting and how
Mm-hmm.
what you've been learning has impacted your parenting. And can you give us a little bit about that?
Yes. So when we started having kids, we wanted the focus to be on raising them to be compassionate and kind, instead of getting caught up in that rat race where modern motherhood is right now, where we micromanage everything and we have to get in the best school and get the best grade and be the champion of literally everything. I see the value in that and respect people's decisions, but for our family, we really wanted to put more of emphasis on compassion and empathy and taking care of each other in the community. But where I saw some cognitive dissonance with that was I was getting burned out and just feeling a lot of sacrificial motherhood that modern motherhood gives us. And so, although I was, doing these crafting good and helping our neighbors and having good conversations, I wasn't embodying those traits. I was angry, resentful, anxious, just not living through my full potential. And actually, through the pandemic, the past year, when we moved back here, I got a hospital job as a speech pathologist and really had to focus on my self care, because to protect my family, basically. Because if I was anxious and I wasn't taking care of my body well, then I could possibly bring home, COVID to my family, and I had to be very diligent about the steps I took to clean my body, clean our things, and protect my mind. And I realized that through that daily self-care, I started to notice not only was my anxiety decreasing in the middle of a pandemic, which is kind of odd, but that I was able to embody the traits I wanted to teach my kids without having to do tips and tricks and parenting, Houdini. It was just being authentic and living and that sort of thing. And so I've really embraced this. We have to put ourselves first, not in a selfish way in the traditional sense, but in a self-full way where we are balancing our mind and our body and our health for the betterment of our family. And parenting is, we always hear, oh, she's so selfless, this mother is so selfless, and we really glorify that. And I want to change our minds about that. We shouldn't have to sacrifice ourselves to be wonderful moms. I think it's actually the opposite. And I've seen that evidence in my life in the past few months.
I I 100% agree. I think that, there's that cliche kind of generic quote that's around saying you can't pour from an empty cup and stuff like that.
Right.
It is becoming more and more, talked about, this idea that selflessness is in a way it's kind of selfish because you think that, you're gonna be appreciated more or liked more or whatever if you're selfless. But in a way, you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot because if you don't look after yourself, you're not going to be your best self, to give to others. I always use the example of on the airplane where they say, don't, put the oxygen mask on yourself first, because if you faint and pass out, you're useless to anyone else.
What good are you?
You want to help people, first help yourself, And so
Exactly.
100% agree with that sentiment. I would like you to maybe just, if you feel comfortable, could you just share a little bit more about the journey from, like, just tell us a little bit more about the anxiety and the negativity that you were experiencing, and then how you actually managed to shift that.
Yeah.
What?
So I never really dealt with many mental health issues before becoming a mother, actually. Anxiety really wasn't a part of. Right, I know. With my firstborn, I actually had postpartum depression and anxiety and didn't realize I had it. It was my first experience being a mom. It was, starting to be talked about a little bit, but in the sense of being sad and not being able to take care of your kid, which was not my experience. My experience was anger, rage, those intrusive thoughts of, I feel sorry for my baby. my whole life I thought I was going to be a mother, and I knew I would be a good mother. And then this experience was like, whoa, I'm not a good mother. I feel sorry for him. I feel sorry for my husband. I am not able to do this at all. And those intrusive thoughts were awful. One day, my best friend sat me down and said, you know, you have postpartum depression, right? And I was like, oh my gosh, thank you. Like, I just thought I was a terrible mom, you know? So that was actually a real relief for me. And I actually sought treatment after that. My husband didn't know. It was his first child and experience too. So we were both kind of like, you know, he was in grad school. We were living in the city without family. We didn't really, you know that this wasn't supposed to be like this, where mom was angry all the time and sad and, you know, resentful. And so I started seeking treatment for that, and started noticing my thoughts more. Before that, I just never noticed my thoughts. And now that I knew I was dealing with this mental health issue, I was able to take a you know, step back and look at my thoughts, look at my behavior, and address that, and talk to a counselor. I used a more natural approach at first, and it wasn't really working, and so I got on some medicine. After my third, I didn't experience it with my second child, and I didn't experience it with my third child. But the third trimester after my third child, I noticed that I started feeling those feelings again. And I went back to my doctor and got on some safe medicine for pregnancy, and noticed a huge difference. So, Emily, did you go somewhere? Are you there still? I'll keep talking about my experience until you come back. So I addressed it, and I think some of my anxiety up until this year was lingering postpartum depression and anxiety. So having that kind of sick feeling in my stomach, not being able to pinpoint something was wrong, and then feeling really anxious about social engagements, which I'm typically a very social person, feeling anxious about social events. Are you back?
Hold on. Yes, I'm back. Sorry.
Yeah, no worries. I was just talking more about after my third child, I didn't experience it, but that third trimester, I started feeling more symptoms of that and got on some medicine. And then I didn't have postpartum after my third, but I was different. I was a different person. I would have this baseline anxiety of social events, which typically I'm a very social, gregarious person, and I would start feeling that sick feeling in my stomach. I would get really nervous about everything. Driving in the car, I would be worried that I would trip and fall down the stairs with holding them, just kind of little things like that. And some of that little anxiety has persisted, although I don't need medication anymore. Some of that anxiety has still persisted since then, up until the past few months when I've addressed my prioritizing my self-care.
Amazing. And I apologize for disappearing. My connection totally went out, so I hope that everything's fine, that it's still going, and that we haven't, but it seems to be still going. So
it looks good on my end. Yeah.
Good. I apologize for that, because I totally lost the whole screen. It was just like it shut down.
Oh, no.
Apologies.
That's okay.
Basically, okay, so I missed a little bit, but I postpartum depression and anxiety. Yes, it's so brutal as well, because the lack of awareness that we have around these topics and these things, the fact that you didn't know what was going on, and that your friend literally had to sit there and say to you, by the way, you know, this is what's going on. I mean, it's not the same, but it's the same point of the lack of awareness. When I was 15 years old, I told a friend of mine about a traumatic event that happened. She said, Emily, you know that's rape, right? Like, seriously.
Right.
And I was like, oh my God, I didn't connect. Like, I thought it was my fault, my choice, my decisions. Like, I was 15 years old. I was, you know, whatever. It's the lack of awareness that we have around these things is shocking. And the fact that we have to just try and figure our way out in the dark, and just trying to grasp at straws at how do I handle this? How do I cope with this? What do I do when we don't even know what's going on half the time? That's why that's why I'm doing what I'm doing, and why I'm having, speakers like you on here to just talk about all these things and share your journey. I don't know if you said, I caught the bit of the third pregnancy with meds and stuff, but what else, what other tools have you been using to relieve symptoms, help the underlying problems?
Well, I started meditating. I've been doing yoga for about 15 years, but really more for physical health, not really which is ironic, not really connecting the mind and the body, because that's what yoga is, but it was more of a surface level practice. Since my postpartum depression, I really started diving deeper into the meditation part. Part of my personality before this was I wasn't too disciplined with those types of things. But then now, since my shift to prioritize myself since the pandemic, I've been meditating for at least an hour a day. And I've been gobbling up books about, the quantum field and how we can use our subconscious and how we can connect to our spirit and our soul through meditation, and all of the physical and mental health benefits from that. So that has been a real priority for me. I drink lots of water. I really try to do that. I try to move my body, some part of the day, and talking to people, I think, really helped. Journaling has really helped kind of focus in on some things that maybe, I can improve, or what's feeling stronger, or what I still need to pay attention to and work on. So those are the main things I do every day. We try to spend time together as a family to create those family bonds. And I try not to be distracted during those times. I mean, it's hard for all of us to do that, but I think, limiting some social media too, and not getting caught up in that whole thing. I think that's really important too. I mean, social media is wonderful. Obviously, we use it, we're on it. But I think using it with a good bit of awareness and consciousness about how we're doing it and what we're consuming is super important. So those are the things I'm doing now. Essential oils, kind of more holistic approaches to mental health, but things that you can do every day. You don't need money to meditate. You need a silent place for 5 minutes. I mean, I think that's the thing. It's not, I think we know in research, it's not going to Bali for a silent retreat for a week. It's more of these little things every day that we can do, regardless of our schedules and our financial situations.
I think that's a very, very important point that you raised there as well, because I mean, not only is it, you can do it, it's free. It's more about prioritizing yourself, as you've mentioned quite a few times here, that, I mean, you've got 3 kids under the age of 5, 6.
Yeah.
And still managing to meditate and do yoga and journal and read books. Like, oh my God, and have, your business, it's amazing. It's incredible. I don't know how you squeeze everything into a 24-hour day, but the fact is you can prioritize yourself, and you can do this if it's important enough to you. Exactly. And it should be. I always say that the most important relationship we have is the relationship we have with ourselves. What kind of relationship we're going to have? How are we going to love ourselves, respect ourselves, understand ourselves if we don't invest in that relationship? And that should be the priority, because that then has a knock-on effect to all our other relationships, which is my next question to you is, can you tell us a little bit about how that's affected your role as a mother, as a parent, as a, partner?
Well, and I think you're speaking to that, how it's transformed my relationship and as a founder of a company is I'm more efficient. When I'm taking care of myself and I feel good with myself, I'm clearer. I'm more in touch with creative ideas and possibilities in my company and in my family life. I'm more present with them. So yes, maybe I take an hour to go meditate and do some journaling and some self-care. But then when I'm back with my kids, I'm back with my kids. I'm present, I'm more joyful. I'm not so resentful of, oh, I can't even do this because of this, and they can feel that. They learn from example. We know we learn from example way better than we learn from somebody telling us things. So I think prioritizing ourselves is the key to having a stable relationship with our kids and with our spouse. I'm less reactive. I am an Aries. I'm really fiery. I can have a temper. And I was pretty reactive with my kids, which is not teaching them how to be kind and compassionate when I'm, not giving them any patience or compassion when they're hurting. And so I'm able to separate myself from their tantrums a lot more. I'm able to better meet their needs because I'm more receptive and aware of why they might be having tantrums. And it's not perfect. I mean, last night at bed, it's 9 o'clock and my daughter's still, trying to avoid bedtime. And I, got stern with her about that. So, it's progress over perfection for sure. I'm not, a monk where I can, separate myself and totally go into my own spiritual practice all the time. But it's way better than it was before I started doing this daily self-care practice. So less reactivity, more patience, more creative possibilities, more presence with them. And, we live a pretty mainstream life. There's all the distractions. There's TV, there's screens, there's online learning coming up. I'm sure there will be an adjustment there too. So it's definitely not perfect, but it definitely feels better to be able to provide them with this type of motherhood rather than sacrificial, resentful motherhood that I was experiencing before.
First of all, I think it's incredible that you are so open to sharing, potentially admitting or confessing to the hardest aspects of motherhood and of parenting, where we do kind of lose ourselves in the moment. And, that happens in all of our relationships. But when it happens with our children, it stings. It's like afterwards you catch yourself and you're like, oh, I don't want to be like that. But I've been struggling with this recently with my toddler. I've got he's nearly 2, where I find myself just being reactive, and because it's the autopilot. It's what I know because it's what I had when I was a child, because my parents didn't have the tools and didn't know otherwise. So I know what not to do, but I'm repeating it. And that goes back to what you said as well, like setting an example. Like I don't want him to be reactive, unconsciously just reactive, and he's going to learn from me. So the only way to teach my child good behavior is if I learn good behavior. There's no such thing as bad behavior. There's just not having tools, Children are monkey see, monkey do. They just copy us, and that's how they learn language. Well, that's how they learn behavior. It's logical. So I think it's also, especially when it's important when we're not a parent, but even more so when we are parents, to learn these tools. Oh, sorry. My internet is just ridiculous today. I shall sort it out. Am I back?
Okay, you're back.
Okay, good. So I think that it's even more it's even more obvious when you're parenting, because they kind of mirror the behavior back at you. I realized I was being reactive, and I can see he's starting to shout, and I'm like, oh my God, if he's shouting, that means he's learning it from me. I'm shouting. I don't want to be shouting. And so, we do, like our parents did the best that they could with what they had. We do the best we can, but I can strive for better. And the only way to do that is to step up, admit, take responsibility, and show up for myself every day and say, I need to prioritize myself. And this applies, for men as well, and for fathers. It's humans in general. I think it's a matter of awareness, a matter of consciousness, making conscious decisions. I'm going to prioritize my needs. I'm going to learn how to meet my needs so that I can then teach them how to meet their needs. That's at the end of the day what we want to pass on. So,
well, what better gift is that? Right. Well, and it's not even just parenting, it's every area of our life. If we're present at our workplace, then we can be a more efficient, creative employee. It's in all areas of our life. Parenting happens to be, the one that I'm deeply sinking in right now. But it's anyone. It's any area of our life, and our relationships and our workplace performance. So I think it's really valuable for everyone to kind of say, whoa, being in this rat race of kind of modern productivity and all of that is a lie. I think we can be way more productive if we take a second, take a moment for ourselves, and analyze and ask questions. What are we curious about? I think more creative possibilities will come to us if we do that.
100%. Completely agree. Amazing. Okay, so before we wrap up, I like asking, what is the one biggest, most helpful tool that you really, really felt was the game changer for you?
100% meditation. 100%. Easiest question.
Okay.
Yeah, and there's meditate, many structures of meditation. I have done a few different types of meditation, and I think, if we don't even have an app, if we don't have any experience, if we don't have anything, we have ourselves and our silence. And I think getting past the point where we're saying, oh, I can't meditate, my mind's too busy. Yeah, everybody's mind is too busy. Everybody's thoughts are racing. That's kind of how our minds work. So if we can even just take 5 minutes to sit in a dark closet of silence, or go sit in the car if your house is busy and chaotic, or if you're at work, go sit in your car and just take, literally 5 minutes, 3 minutes to sit in silence with no social media, no phone, no music, no nothing, just to kind of get to where we focus on ourselves. Then we can start, taking it a step further. But meditation, hands down, has been a game changer for me.
It made me think when you said, I can't meditate, I'm thinking too much kind of thing. To me, it equates to, I can't eat, I'm too hungry. It's
right. No, that's 100%. You're exactly right.
Is what you need. If you're hungry, then food is what you like. It just, people are saying, I can't meditate because I'm too. It's a practice, but it's what is needed to stop the craziness. Anyway.
Right.
All right.
And I think once you get to that point where you practice, yeah.
Go on.
Oh, sorry. When you get to the point where it is a practice and it doesn't feel like such effort, I mean, it is. It's just like anything. It's a practice. So you do a little bit every day, then you can do a little bit more, then you can go a little bit deeper, and you get to that point where you're in more of a meditative state a little bit quicker, and it becomes automatic. And then you see all these other effects, later on. It's really just like any other habit. The first part's a little bit hard because you're not used to it. And then little by little, every little bit counts. And then all of a sudden, a few months later, you're like, oh, wow, I didn't even feel that feeling that creeps up when my kid has a tantrum and I want to yell. Like, you don't even feel it anymore, So
I've been finding that I'm able to be more conscious of my rumination and my mind, kind of monkey mind, running away with itself. So if, for example, I really want to go to sleep and my mind's going, I can say, stop, you're going to sleep now. You can think about it another time, and I can literally pause, or if, for example, you said with a tantrum in a child, it's instead of just going, oh my God, I can say, stop, be present. He's just, he's just frustrated. So let him feel frustrated, because that's a feel, like, we need to teach them how to be with their emotions as well. It's something that we're not taught how to do, and it's so fundamental. Like, what's wrong with him being frustrated? We get frustrated. That's a legitimate emotion.
We all get frustrated. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And,
and
crying.
I think that is a misconception. Right.
Exactly. Crying, but crying as well,
meditation doesn't take away our emotion.
Uncomfortable. Yeah. It's uncomfortable for us to experience their crying, but but crying is okay.
Right.
Crying is expression, you know, especially when you're a child and you can't express yourself in words
Right.
yet, you know, so you cry for when you're angry, for when you're frustrated, for when you're hungry, for when you're tired, for when, as long as his needs are met. If he's then still crying, then cry it out. And I'm here, I'm next to you, I'm present with you, but I'm not angry, I'm not
Right.
exasperated, I'm not panicking, you know, like I used to be. And it's like, I'm not panicking
Right.
now, like, oh my God, he's crying. I
Yeah.
need to, like, what can I do? What can I do to, like, stop it? No, let him, like, it's okay. Yes, 100%. I'm with you on this. If you could you please, I want to put in the description the links to all of your, you know, all your things, and you know, your groups and your startup, etc. And then you know, if you have a page, and also if you have any good recommendations for meditations for beginners or for advanced or for anything, then send all of that stuff my way, and I'll share it with everyone.
Okay.
Or share it with people,
Yeah, that'd
with
be
the
great.
group yourself. All good.
With yeah.
All right. Thank you, thank you, thank you for coming on, Rachel. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much, Emily. Yes, thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.